Welcome to the world of stories. This is HRB Verse, where every story is real, heartfelt, and unforgettable. Subscribe now and become part of a journey you'll never forget. I always sensed Ethan would sabotage something eventually. I never imagined it'd be my reputation, torn apart in front of 300 wedding guests while he stood there in a rented suit, gripping a swiped microphone. The red flags were there since our teenage years. His entitlement, his knack for dodging responsibility, and our parents' habit of blaming his failures on someone else, usually me. I'm Rachel, 34, single, a bakery owner, dubbed an overachiever by Mom and a control freak by Ethan. Honestly, I'm just drained. Drained from pretending our family isn't toxic, from excusing those who never apologize, and from Ethan's constant schemes expecting me to finance them out of some warped sense of duty. Let's rewind to the day it all blew up. My cousin Lydia's wedding was a quintessential Charleston spectacle, steeped in Southern grace and old money allure. White roses draped over winding staircases, a jazz quartet played beneath a magnolia, and appetizers with names I couldn't pronounce floated by. It felt like a feature in a glossy magazine, but one hiding a category for family betrayals masquerading as reunions. I sat at table 6, facing the marsh, just far enough from my parents to breathe. I was there for Lydia, one of the few who championed my bakery when I launched it a decade ago in a tiny strip mall, baking in a rented kitchen and hawking pastries at farmers' markets. My bakery, Sweetbriar Bakehouse, is now a premier custom cake shop in Charleston, serving mayors, art galleries, and even Lydia's wedding with a 7-tier cake hand-painted in edible watercolor. My gift to her. Standing there in my navy dress, Prosecco in hand, I felt a rare pride, not just for the cake, but for the empire I'd built. Then Ethan strolled in, late as always, with his latest girlfriend, Jade, in a glitzy, too-tight dress, looking like she'd stepped off a reality show set. He played the charismatic prince, all hugs and grins, while our parents beamed like he was royalty. He gave me that look, the one signaling he wanted something. "Rake," he said, pulling me into a half-hearted hug. "This cake's incredible, you outdid yourself." I thanked him cautiously. Then, as if asking for a napkin, he dropped it. "Got a business you'll love, just need a small investment, couple $100,000. I blinked. "What?" He grinned like it was a joke. "I'll explain later, let's find a quiet corner." I shut him down. "No, tell me now." He chuckled as if my refusal was absurd. "Don't be like that, it's a game changer. Jade and I are working with some Atlanta folks on a food delivery AI blockchain thing. We're calling it Biteching." I stared, jaw half open. "You want $250,000 for a crypto food app?" He looked offended. "It's bigger than that. We're revolutionizing dining. It's a legacy. We're family, so I thought." "You thought wrong," I cut in. "Not happening, Ethan." That should have been it. But Ethan doesn't accept rejection. He retaliates. He smirked, that dangerous smirk he gets when plotting. "You think you're better than us now, huh? Selling fancy pastries to rich folks?" I didn't respond. My silence hit him harder than words could. I walked away, unaware that the next time I'd see him, he'd be center stage, mic in hand, during the toasts. When the DJ announced speeches, I expected the usual, father of the bride, best man, maybe Lydia. Not Ethan grabbing the mic after the groom's brother. "Before we get too tipsy," he said, smirking, "a few words about family." My stomach dropped. Ethan had no role in the wedding, no tie to Lydia, no reason to speak. Yet there he was, commanding 300 people's attention. "Some in this family act like they built everything solo," he began, "but they don't admit what they took from us to get there." Guests shifted, eyes on me. Heat crawled up my neck. "I'm talking about Rachel," he said, raising his glass. "The self-made baker, except she used Grandma May's recipes meant for all of us." Murmurs spread like wildfire. "And now," he continued, "she won't even back a family venture that could lift us all. She'd rather hoard her money and act superior." I was frozen, humiliated, exposed. My parents didn't flinch. Mom nodded, Dad sipped his bourbon like this was routine. Across the room, Judge Alana Reeves, retired and powerful, set down her wine glass, her gaze cold and calculating. Ethan had sparked the fire, but he didn't know who he'd burn. The room fell into a charged, heavy silence after his toast. No applause, no laughter, just tension. Ethan stood there, smug like he'd landed a punchline. I sat at table 6, my drink untouched, staring at the brother I once knew. My hands shook not from fear, but fury. Not at Ethan's words, I'd endured his jabs for years. It was my parents. Mom's proud smile, Dad's indifference. They'd enabled this, always had. Like when Ethan crashed Mom's car at 18, and I got grounded. Or when he gambled away his college fund and they asked me to cover him from my bakery's savings. I took a deep breath. Judge Reeves' eyes were still on me, not judging but understanding. She saw the ambush for what it was. I stood, not to prove anything to Ethan, but because I was done letting others speak for me. "Excuse me," I said, louder than intended. "Since this is open mic night, I'll say something." A few gasps, one awkward clap. I took the mic from Ethan with a smile sharp enough to cut. "Thanks for the intro, little brother. Very inspiring." He stepped back, rattled for a second. I faced the crowd. "I'm Rachel Whitmore. Some know me, some know my cakes, and some apparently just learned I'm the family villain." Nervous chuckles. Since Ethan brought up Grandma May's recipes, let's be clear. Yes, I use her techniques. Everyone in our family does. But I'm the one who spent a decade perfecting them. I'm the one who woke at 3 a.m. for 5 years, maxed out credit cards, broke ovens, ruined batches, and kept going. Jade rolled her eyes. I ignored her. What was Ethan doing? Dropping out of 2 colleges, tanking 4 businesses, borrowing thousands from our parents without repaying a dime. Now he wants me to fund Bytekin, his crypto food app. Snickers from the crowd, cousins shaking their heads. When I said no politely, he chose to shame me at a wedding because that's what entitled people do when you set boundaries. My voice wavered but held. The worst part? My parents encouraged it. They always have. They called me greedy when I bought my first kitchen, told me not to brag when my bakery made the city's top 10, asked me to buy Ethan a car when I paid off my loans. Gasps now, eyes on my parents. "So here's my toast," I said, raising my glass. "To everyone who's been told to dim their light for someone else's ego, to every woman called selfish for working hard, and to every family member who watched and stayed silent." I turned to Ethan. "Want to sue me for recipes? Go ahead, you'll lose. I've got copyrights, records, witnesses, and a patient lawyer." Then to Judge Reeves with a small smile. "Thanks for your support. The almond croissants are still your favorite, right?" She smiled back, sharp and steady. "Still are." The room's energy shifted. Suddenly, Ethan wasn't the star. I handed the mic back to the best man, who looked mortified and walked off without another word. Lydia rushed over, whispering, "I'm so sorry, I didn't know he'd do that." "It's not your fault," I said. "He's always been like this, I just never showed it before." Passing Ethan, I saw his mask crack, a twitch in his jaw, desperation behind the swagger. He hadn't expected me to fight back. He thought I'd fold. But something in me had broken, a silence I'd held too long. I wasn't going back. 3 days later, needing blackberry scones, I got served. A man in a creased blazer walked into my bakery, ordered a lemon tart, then handed me an envelope. "Rachel Whitmore?" I nodded, flour on my hands, heart sinking. "You've been served." My assistant, Melanie, froze mid-espresso pull. "Please say that's a prank." It wasn't. Inside, a lawsuit. Ethan was suing me for intellectual property theft, claiming I'd exploited shared family heritage for profit and owed him 49% of my business plus damages. Not 50%, just enough to control without equality. The worst part? Statements from my parents. Mom wrote that Ethan and I baked together as kids and the recipes were always communal. Dad claimed my success depended on family influence. No mention of my 14-hour shifts, the nights I cried in my car when rent was due, or the years I worked without a paycheck to afford another oven. Just a story that I owed Ethan because of family. Melanie, ever snarky, whispered, "Wow, they really said, congrats, now give it up." I couldn't respond. For the first time since the wedding, I felt numb. That night, I didn't cry. I doubted myself. What if they were right? Grandma May taught us both to knead dough, even if Ethan mostly played video games while I scribbled recipes. Was my bakery built on stolen legacy? I pored over the lawsuit, searching for truth in their claims. Then I opened my Dropbox, years of photos, emails, dated test batches, ingredient logs, customer feedback. Every step of my bakery's journey was documented. I wasn't just a baker, I was meticulous. I had proof. Next morning, I met my lawyer, Fiona McTavish, a fierce litigator known for her courtroom sting and black coffee obsession. She read the lawsuit, peered over her glasses, and said, "This is a tantrum dressed as a case. We'll crush it." "Are you sure?" I asked. "They make it sound like I stole from the family." Fiona didn't blink. "If every Southern bakery got sued for using a grandma's cobbler recipe, Charleston would be broke. This isn't about recipes, Rachel. It's about control." I nodded, clarity breaking through. "You stood up to them," she added. "Now they want to punish you." I thought of Ethan's smug toast, Mom's betrayal, Dad's silence, and Judge Reeves' text. "If you need a witness, I'm here." I met Fiona's gaze. "Let's burn it down." The pre-trial was grueling. Ethan's lawyer, a slick-talking rookie with more Instagram followers than courtroom victories, painted me as a scheming careerist who profited off nostalgia. He called it weaponizing sentiment for gain. Fiona built a case tighter than a drum. We submitted recipe books from 2010 with my notes, bank records showing no contributions from Ethan or my parents, emails where Ethan called Sweetbriar Rachel's thing, an NDA from my first investor naming me sole founder, and Ethan's old social media posts mocking my bakery. Then our trump card, Judge Reeves' affidavit. She confirmed she'd been a customer for years, knew my solo struggles, and witnessed Ethan's wedding outburst. Her closing line, it wasn't a sibling spat. It was targeted humiliation of a successful woman by those closest to her. Ethan's team scrambled, pushing for mediation, a mutual resolution. Too late. My story spread from Charleston gossip to legal blogs to a viral TikTok of the wedding speech. The narrative shifted. I wasn't the villain anymore. People were rooting for me. A week before the hearing, Ethan called from a blocked number. I answered, thinking it was a supplier. "Rachel," he said, voice low and pitiful, "can we talk?" "No," I replied, "please. I didn't mean for this to go so far. You sued me. I was angry. You made me look like a fool." "You did that yourself, Ethan." Silence. Then, "If we drop the case, can you loan me some money? Jade left, I'm in debt, Mom and Dad are mad, everyone thinks I'm a fraud." I looked around my kitchen, sugar and butter in the air, oven timer dinging softly. "I don't think you're a fraud," I said quietly. "I think you're a coward who tried to steal from someone who owed you nothing." I hung up. At the hearing, I wore white, pure, stark white, like my bakery's walls, my signature cake's frosting, the apron Grandma may tied around me at 6 when we rolled biscuits. Not for symbolism, but to remind myself I had nothing to hide. The Charleston County Courthouse buzzed with reporters, drawn by the viral video. Some TikTok influencer called me the cupcake queen who clapped back. Cute. I wasn't there for them. I was there to end Ethan's fantasy of reaping rewards for cutting corners. He showed up looking like a drenched rat in a borrowed suit, hair slicked back, Jade gone, parents absent, smart enough to dodge the fallout. Fiona whispered, "He looks like he read the affidavit." I smiled. "Hope it stung." Judge Valerie Grant, sharp and quiet, called order. Ethan's lawyer went first, painting him as a visionary hurt by exclusion from a family legacy, claiming the recipes were shared heritage. Fiona smirked. "If he says generational trauma, I'll object for TikTok jargon." Then our turn. Fiona ignited like a spark in gasoline, detailing my business from its license filing to my first big catering job. She presented my recipe logs, photos of me hauling flour bags, emails of Ethan dismissing my bakery. During cross-examination, she dismantled him. "Mr. Whitmore, what was your financial contribution to Sweetbriar?" "I wasn't an investor, but..." "So none?" "I supported her other ways." "Like," he blinked. "Encouragement, advice." My stomach churned. "Did you write any recipes?" "No." "Work a shift, bake a cake, wash a dish?" "No." "Promote it, connect investors?" "No." "Did you call it Rachel's thing?" He swallowed. "Yeah, I guess. Want to see the email?" "No need." Fiona turned to the gallery, theatrical. "No further questions." Ethan's lawyer requested a recess. They didn't return. The judge dismissed the case with prejudice. Ethan couldn't refile. It was over. Outside the courthouse, reporters hovered. I said nothing. The verdict spoke for me. That night in my dark bakery smelling of lemon curd and sugar, I sat at my desk, staring at Grandma May's photo, her in her white apron, holding a pecan pie, eyes proud. I touched the frame. "I kept it mine," I whispered. For the first time in weeks, I cried, not from sadness, but from breaking a cycle. The next morning, a courier delivered a package. A slice of Lydia's wedding cake with a note, for the true recipe keeper. A fan. I smiled. My inbox overflowed, 15 client requests, 3 interview invites, and a message from Judge Reeves with a Charleston Law Society chat screenshot. I told them you're the best baker in town. They all want croissants now. 3 weeks later, Mom called. I let it go to voicemail. "Rachel, we just want to talk. Your father's upset. We all are. Ethan made mistakes, but family's family. Can we move on?" Move on rich when they never moved with me. They waited at the finish line, demanding credit for my race. The next day, a 3-page letter from Ethan arrived. He apologized, said he let pride and pressure win that Jade left. His tech reputation was trashed and he might move home. He ended, maybe we could start fresh. I could help the bakery. We're siblings, right? I sat with it, remembering his toast, Mom's nod, Dad's silence, the 300 eyes, and no hand to hold mine. I returned the letter unopened with a note. "This kitchen doesn't need another thief. Karma loves a sequel. The next Sunday, Melanie rushed in, phone in hand. "Rachel, look!" A local news article, Whitmore family bakery drama, the truth behind the viral wedding speech. Someone, maybe a clerk, maybe Fiona, maybe Karma, leaked the court documents. Every detail was there. The false claims, the video, the judge's ruling, a quote from an unnamed source. I had a guess. He thought she'd cave. She baked him into a corner. It exploded online, not as gossip, but as a story of boundaries, ownership, and women refusing to be silenced. Messages flooded in, DMs from women relating to me, emails from entrepreneurs about relatives claiming late credit, even a therapist inviting me to a podcast on family betrayal. I read every word, feeling seen for the first time. The holidays came. No big Whitmore family gathering, no fake harmony or itchy sweaters, just an email from Mom. "Are you really spending Christmas alone?" I replied, "Not alone." In peace, I booked a cabin with Melanie and her girlfriend, sipped mulled wine, and toasted to cutting toxic ties. 6 months later, the bakery thrived. I launched a seasonal menu, opened a second location, and partnered with a women's shelter for baking workshops. At night, I'd stand at my apartment window, wine in hand, watching Charleston's lights, a city that finally embraced me, not for the scandal, but for my refusal to shrink. One evening, a knock came after closing. Ethan. He looked diminished, not physically, but his bravado, his "I deserve this" aura gone. "I'm not here to fight," he said. "I just wanted to say in person I'm sorry." I stayed silent. "You were right, I didn't build anything. I thought if I couldn't make something, I'd take yours." He looked at his shoes. "You fought harder than I ever could. I'm not asking for anything, I just wanted you to know I get it." I stared, then nodded once. Not forgiveness, just acknowledgement. He nodded back and left. That was the last I saw him. I sometimes wonder if he meant it, if he truly understood. But mostly, I don't care. I stopped needing answers from those who only show up to take. I have my bakery, my peace, and my recipes, not Grandma May's, but the ones I forged through 50 burnt batches, 3 a.m. taste tests, and relentless grit. Those I earned, and no one's taking them away. Not ever. Thank you for watching my story. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and press the bell icon. Stay tuned for more real-life stories, get more experiences.